had some questions here. I hope the rest of the audience won't mind. I think we're in Hollywood, California, home of the Hubble telescope and all these scientific things. I want to ask some cosmological questions, if I may. In the Edgar Cayce readings, he mentioned Arcturus. And I forget whether it was in between lives, but I thought it was after we've finished with enough lives and bodies here, that we would go to Arcturus and decide or be told where we're going, what we're going to do next. Can you comment on that, please?
Not really. There is some of what you have said that does not correspond with our knowledge of who you are and why you are here and what happens next. In other words, you are not sent somewhere and given an assignment. You are a creator who chooses. And as you are here creating in this time-space reality, when you reemerge into non-physical, we are aware of no one who reemerges and takes off for some other frontier. In other words, this is the realm in which you are creating. Your escrow is about this, you see. So we just want to, without getting into detail about why someone is translating something differently than we are, we just want to explain that every person who asks is asking from a different vibration, and every teacher who is translating from a different point of view. And in reverence to all translators, we want to say it is not an easy thing to translate one's knowledge of non-physical energy into physical terms without distortion. In other words, your world is full of what cannot be considered anything other than folklore. Think about what people of your planet are accepting as some sort of reality. Have you considered building a boat and putting two of everything on it? And so it's sort of like that. In an effort to offer analogies and such, people could even argue about the analogy of the vortex of creation that we are describing here and turn it into a place and call it a planet. Before you know it, there'll be a planet called Vortex, and they'll be telling people that Abraham said you're all going there.
Okay, you're throwing me right on my head here. I thought I came with some ideas that made sense.
Well, we don't want to throw you on your head, so let's hear it.
Oh, well, that's fine. If I walk out of here on my head, that's fine too, I suppose. All right. One of the quick questions I hope you will say you don't know anything about or you can't answer. Big Bang, expanding universe, it appears that it's expanding at an accelerating rate, and the way it's going in a few trillion years, then this galaxy, we won't be able to see any other galaxies that will have all disappeared. Is that what you folks see, or...?
Now, give us more about that. Slow it down and say it again.
All right, the physical universe.
Yes.
Current cosmological pictures of it per the greatest and best scientists, and pretty well all of the physicists,
yes,
cosmologists, say that there was a Big Bang so many trillion years ago, 30 trillion.
So before you go further, let us define this vortex of creation that we're talking about. In other words, if you accept that everything is vibration, and that once thought is thought upon longer, it becomes a more dominant thought, and that there is a point, a tipping point, where the vibrational thought has been considered long enough that it tips into what you call manifestation. That is our best explanation of what the Big Bang is. And yes, of course, it fits with what we are talking about all that you see here having been in a vibrational version first, thought upon by many for what you would, in your terms, call a long period of time, before it began amassing into the physical equivalent of it. And that is what scientists have come to call the Big Bang. They talk about it with question. They have no awareness of causation about it. So we are feeling that piece in a bit. But there is so much more to be experienced in this universe that has already been started. That's why we're saying that you're returning to the platform that you understand.
Okay.
Sort of fits together.
All right, that sort of answers things, and thank you. Last question then. I think I've detected what I might call a subtle but tuned-in sense of humor in Abraham's answers.
We find you all hilarious, yes.
Is this something that you learned and cultivated, or is it something that is Esther's and which learned to integrate with these?
Well, Esther is full of fun, and that's one of the reasons that we are vibrationally compatible. But beyond that, you will discover and have discovered that there is a true humor in the timing of the unfolding of things. And the universe, who is this culminating of expansion from this secure and trusted platform where there is no sense of risk or guardedness, is more playful in nature than anything else. And we think Esther represents that well as she interprets. You have to remember, she's receiving a block of thought that is filled with nuances and knowledge and intentionality and essence of understanding. And to find the words and the attitude and the delivery that match all of that is something that she is doing. And so we cannot say that it is not in part Esther's interpretation, but she is interpreting our intention. And over time, you have to understand, so many hours, immeasurable hours nearly, of us flowing through Esther. And each time of our offering something, and each time her intention to translate it clearly, and each time, if it is the slightest bit leaning, we lean it the other way. In other words, because of her willingness and the willingness of those like you to play with us, we've had quite a bit of opportunity to get into the understanding of what these vibrational offerings mean, and her interpretation of them is accurate.
I think you and she together do very well, and it has interested and amused me to see that. I do actually have one other question, and a tiny one. How did you know about my little finger? But I wouldn't force you to answer that one. The big question, Abraham, how many of you are there? You seem to be I guess you refer to yourselves as the dead guys.
Now you see, it's exactly that kind of thing that evokes folklore.
Okay.
Because you want us to quantify in terms that you understand something that is non-physical.
Okay, well...
So what is the number of infinite intelligence?
Yeah, well, just what's the number in your group?
Well, what is the number of infinite intelligence? Give us a number and we'll agree.
You're not answering my question.
Is it more than
right.
that? In the beginning, we said to Esther, because Esther really wanted to know that too, because she could feel that sometimes there would be someone with very powerful question, and she could feel what felt like a huge cadre of energy lined up and answering. She could just feel it. And other times, a more frivolous question would bring what felt like a more frivolous and much smaller group, and she could feel that the question itself was evoking different depths and breadths of whatever this Abraham stuff was. And so she, one day, in a very determined fashion, wanted to know how many of you are there. And we said 100, which satisfied her at the time. But it is really not a very good answer. So if you're going to pin us down to it, we're not going to give you a very good answer.
Okay, thank you.
There are as many of us as it takes to satisfy the question to the degree that you will allow it. There is no limit to the amount of those who join in. In other words, this energy is filled with those listening. In other words, you gather together in scanty numbers, we gather together in huge numbers. And the interest of that which we are, in other words, we represent the inner being of each and every one of you, and so much more, you see. And so, as you have an inner being that we are talking about, we have inner beings who have inner beings who have inner beings, because we are eternal beings. We've all been around for a very long time. So when you come forth with a very powerful desire and a very succinctly focused question, there is no limit to the depth and breadth of that which you can summon. And to the degree that you are willing to hear it, that is the degree to which we are willing to give it.
And you don't have to schedule your time or anything like that for these meetings.
Well, we are timeless, and that's a function of your focus here, but we are not limited by your time or your schedule.
So is that
But we do appreciate the rendezvous, because in rendezvousing in your time, you focus in a way that summons us more powerfully. In other words, when a group like this gathers and focus with interest, and this is a remarkable group, you sit for hours on end and allow others who are asking questions that may not be the question that you hold, but still you focus and listen. It is remarkable what you summon, and it is to your credit that this work expands, truly.
Thank you.
Wow. Wow. This is really a nice day the way it's unfolding. Would you bring Esther back up again, and she'll bring Abraham back up again?
And are you refreshed? Good. Now what? We're going to have a very good time today. Stand if you think it's you. Further back, you. It's a little like whack-a-mole. There is an amusement park game where everyone stands up and you try to, which is not our intention at all.
If you would have told me that I'd be here 5 years ago, this is totally impossible.
You should hear the way Esther tells the story.
I totally agree with everything that you teach. And it's really changing my life. And I don't know if this is a question or a comment. I just don't get the whole channeling thing. I just don't get it. I'm like, everything is tremendous, tremendous teaching. But when it comes to channeling, I'm like, I get lost.
Well, actually, it's a good thing that you don't, in this sense. We don't want it to be something so unusual either, because the fact is, everyone who you see around you is an extension of source energy, and everyone has access to this broader knowing. In fact, through the years, as our way of explaining who we are and who you are and how it all blends together has evolved. This analogy that we offer about this vortex, this vibrational place isn't even the right word, vibrational state of being, where if you tend to your vibration, then you enter the vortex and you become one with what's there. That's the best definition of channeling that anyone could ever give. A basketball player who learns his skill, who gets tuned in to the rhythm of who he really is, often describes being in the zone. not so different from being in the vortex. In fact, some of his extraordinary abilities, when he's really tuned in like that, of being able to recognize his time and space, of being able to judge the distance from where he is and the trajectory of the ball that he is throwing. In other words, all of that is because he is using more of his resources. Scientists have long said that humans use but a small percentage of their mental capacity, even as they're probing brains and putting contraptions on them to measure activity. And so you're really accurate when you acknowledge that everyone, the beasts of your planet, are all doing it all of the time. In other words, they have not given up their awareness of their relationship with their source energy in order to please others. The domesticated ones tend to do it more, but for the most part, the beasts of your planet are tuned to that frequency. It's why you can see a flock of birds flying in formation in perfect rhythm with one another. It's because they are operating out of the one mind to which they are all vibrationally in sync. And so, Jerry and Esther have never liked the word channeling because it means all kinds of things that they are not doing. We have been saying things that Esther finds words. We offer blocks of thought, and Esther receives the blocks of thought at an unconscious level, and then finds the physical word equivalent. But she could not do that if she were not in the vibrational vicinity of that which we are.
Okay, so where's Esther right now? Where is Esther?
Esther describes her experience as knowing what Abraham knows. In other words, because of this environment, because of the expectation for the most part of those who are participating, because of the focus of your asking, you are summoning the energy collectively and individually in a stronger way than you ordinarily. Would. So it's queued up to be received. As Esther puts herself in a place of no distraction and complete allowing, her vibration raises so that she can hear and express the frequency. Sometimes people who are having an experience similar to what Esther is doing describe themselves as not being there, as going somewhere else, as being unconscious. Esther is not unconscious. She is aware of the words as they are being spoken. She has no sense of what we're going to say before we say it. There's no pre-planning. There are no notes. There is no script. It's all live, impromptu, in the moment, in response to what is being asked. Esther has some awareness following a seminar these days of what's been said, and always when she listens back to a recording, she recognizes it. In fact, sometimes when she puts her earphones on and listens back to the recording after the fact, because Jerry and Esther do the editing for the various products that are offered, Esther will tune right back into the frequency and know what's going to be said again right before it's said. In other words, she's tuning into the energy. So there are many people, Jerry and Esther get letters, there are many people who do not accept that Esther is receiving from another point of view. Jerry perhaps knows it better than any because he knows what Esther's consciousness is, what her grasp of things is, what her spread of knowledge is. He knows the sequence of her words and the usage of her words. He's always impressed that Abraham utilizes Esther's vocabulary in a fuller way than Esther ever uses her vocabulary. In other words, there are all kinds of differences. If a physician were to wire Esther, they would find that everything about her physical apparatus is in sort of hyper mode. Her heart and breathing rhythm are in a much more relaxed mode than her mental, which is really unusual because usually they go together. In other words, she is in a state of allowing, but a state of heightened mental activity, which is a sort of anomaly for physicians to see things like that. To be in a state of relaxation so much usually doesn't bring this much mental activity. But you see, it's not Esther's mental activity, it's our mental activity that she is expressing for us. So it really is not important to us or to Esther or to Jerry whether you are accepting this as a reality of an experience. They do want people to benefit from the information that Esther is translating. From our point of view, we found Esther to be a supreme translator because she did not have opinions. She was not decided on all kinds of things. She is becoming more decided as she listens to us more and as she applies the the things that she is learning from us to the details of her life, she is, in a mental way, coming to hold this knowledge. But still, there are always new things that are erupting in every gathering as a result of what those like you bring to the forum.
Wow.
Odd that we went to so much trouble to get you in the hot seat. That was a very good conversation. We're always happy to have that one. Little more through the eyes of Source. And as you begin to view your magnificent world through the eyes of Source, you will then revel in your beingness and in that of others. And you cannot get away from it. You are in a vibrational and emotional relationship with who you have become constantly, eternally, forevermore. Deal with it. We want you to be aware of it because when you are consciously aware that there is a vibrational attitude or beingness that has occurred because of what you have lived, then you can start feeling your way into emotional and vibrational alignment with it. For example, so Esther and her sister's husband, had a lovely meal in Del Mar, and then decided to stop at the grocery store for some water and milk. And while they were in the grocery store, an 18-year-old lovely little girl in her new-to-her Mustang was driving on a wet street. Her car got away from her. It was impossible to even imagine how she got up so much speed in such a short period of time. And she buried the nose of her little Mustang in the nose of Esther's Cadillac Escalade. Buried it in the nose of Esther's car and the Jaguar that was sitting next to it. She couldn't have picked two better cars to bury her nose in. And when Esther saw it, the cars were stuck together. The tow trucks had to pull them apart. Esther was not happy. Her exact words were, "You have got to be kidding me." They were there for quite a while, exchanging information. And Esther was thinking to herself, how could someone be so irresponsible as to let their car get away from them and make such a mess of my beautiful car? For no reason. This was just unnecessary. And her father was there, and he was very, very mad at her. And Esther liked that. Because Esther was very, very mad at her too. No reason for this. And then, as things unfolded, the cars were apart, and Esther realized that her car was drivable. In fact, everything worked. The headlights worked. She could not have picked a better spot. Even the signals worked. The car drove normally. It can be repaired. And so as Esther sort of settled down from it, she began recognizing the discord that she had caused herself by her knee-jerk response to a situation and her subsequent departure from who she really is. Now, we have to say to you that that wavered quite a bit. As she was mad, and then not mad, and then mad, and then not mad. And every time she thought about what this now meant, she got mad. So she found that she could choose whether to be mad or not mad, but mad seemed more appropriate under the conditions. It just did, especially when she looked at her car, especially when others looked at her car, and she knew they were thinking that she did it, that she did it, that she did it. Esther wanted to make a sign. I did not do this. I made her, once again, curse law of attraction. So she began sort of reporting to those who were around her. I'm not as bothered by the painted metal that has to be reconfigured as I am about my point of attraction. I guess I've just been feeling so sorry for myself and feeling vulnerable, and so this is what has come of this. But that thought felt bogus and awful. But it also somehow had little resonance. In other words, things like that shouldn't happen to people who are deliberate creators, and yet there it was, a big hole in the front of her car. And so, as they were pulling the cars apart, her brother-in-law had said, you know, Esther, I don't think you're going to have too much trouble with this car. This car is a tank. And when they pulled the cars apart, everything seemed fine. They drove away. She drove it here. You can see it if you like. Just don't take pictures and put them on the internet. She doesn't care. And so then, she was visiting with us about it, wanting to know what her point of attraction, what does this mean about my point of attraction? And we explained to her that we're not going to make her the exception in the universe. You're not the exception in the universe. Of course, everything that happens to you is part of your attraction. And then she recalled that at the intersection, as they turned in to the grocery store just before, a car had run a red light right in front of them, and the other cars had honked. And Esther had commented, glad they didn't collide, because we would have been innocently involved in their wreck. Those had been her words right before this. So now she's starting to see some of the correlation between how things come together. And then we said to her, Esther, your Cadillac is a tank, and you are a tank too. And Abraham Hicks Publications is a tank. In other words, of course there are cosmetic things that you're working on all the time. Of course there are things that you're molding into place all the time. But you're strong, and you're stable, and this is analogous to the stability of that which you are. So she said, I'm going to drive that car around with a big hole in it for a while. Until they can fix it. What we're getting at here is, you can take every situation in the world, and you can look at it through your physical eyes, which are often leaning more in the direction of vulnerability, or through your non-physical eyes, who are always looking for your strength. The source within you knows who you are, knows the stability of your being, and never sees anything that you're living in the attitude of vulnerability to you, because the source within you knows the backup systems you've got going on. You understand what we're getting at? As you are determined to feel your power rather than your weaknesses, your strengths rather than your weaknesses, your clarity rather than your confusion, your sureness rather than your unsteadiness, as you begin to get glimpses and you begin to deliberately want to practice the vibration of that well-being, what begins to happen to you, oh, of course, you're going to rendezvous with all kinds of things. You're out here in the world and there is nothing that comes to you that does not come on the powerful, well-defined, always accurate, always fair basis of law of attraction. Nothing ever comes to you that isn't about that. But we want you to know, you have the choice in every moment to define how you want to feel. And if your desire to feel good is strong enough, you will always find a way to come back into your power. So now the man from State Farm is looking at the front of Esther's car, and Esther is explaining to him how it happened, really wanting him to know she just didn't bump it up on something. He actually didn't care how it happened. He was just there to assess what had happened and to make a determination about it. But Esther's explaining it to him. And he said, I worked for Ford. I had a couple of those Mustangs. They are really squirmy. The back end of those fishtails, they get away from you. They're really, really hard on wet pavement. And it was raining that day. And then Esther went to her hairdresser and is explaining to her hairdresser, in case she happens to see the car in the parking lot, but her hairdresser said, I had 2 Mustangs. They are really difficult on wet roads. There's something about the back end of those that makes them really hard to control. And suddenly, Esther is feeling relief because she'd been holding that one little nugget of blame to that little 18-year-old girl who the last time she saw her was in the parking lot crying until her eyelashes were coming off, wanting Esther to know that she didn't mean to do it, she didn't mean to do it, she didn't mean to do it, she didn't mean to do it. So Esther called her father and said, I just want you to know that 2 people today told me exactly the same thing, and I think we should all let your little girl off the hook on this. He said, what do you have to say? And Esther said, those cars are hard to manage on the wet roads. We were all too hard on her. And Esther could feel the relief coming over him. And she knows that there was soon to be relief coming over this little girl. Because everything that happens is a co-creation. And when you decide that you're going to blame the one who seemed at most fault, instead of take responsibility for the part you play, the reason you feel so awful is not because you're mad at the little girl. It's because you're all upside down about how things are being created in your reality. You are running around this planet as cooperative components to one another, not to do bad things to each other and not to teach other lessons, but to sift through the data to put things in your vortex to which your inner being is already aligned so that you can experience the joy of alignment. So then Esther began noticing what fun it was. She met a whole host of new people on the process of getting this into alignment, and there's still more to come. More lovely people interacting on different levels. Isn't that what life is all about? And so, of course, you don't want someone to bury their Mustang in the front of your vehicle. That's not our message here at all. But we are acknowledging that there are plenty of things that you don't want that are bumping into you. Plenty of things that you don't want that are bumping into you. And your reaction to the bump, it's normal when you first get bumped to have a knee-jerk reaction. Maybe if you don't really understand who you are, but in time, the woman who drove the Jaguar was standing in a more stable place than Esther in terms of her life. Her husband came to assess it, and they were both smiling in the parking lot, and Esther said to both of them, stop smiling. You are far too happy. This is what I teach, but it is not what I live. You are smiling too much here. And of course she didn't mean it, but isn't it annoying to see someone living the exact thing that you are living and feeling so differently about it, you see? And what we're wanting you to understand is that the source within you, that your inner being, that who you really are, that is converging with you out here on the leading edge of that which you are living, that source within you has a different opinion often than you do if you feel anything less than wonderful. The source within you is always acknowledging the value in the rendezvous. The source within you is always looking for the positive aspects and the benefit of. And when you make one small decision, and it really is a smaller decision than any of you realize, when you make the small decision that you are going to feel good no matter what, that today, no matter what you are doing or where you are going or who you are doing it with, that you're going to look for reasons to feel good, you begin to tune yourself to the vibration of the source within you, and that becomes your dominant point of attraction. Instead of some conversation, you see, everything that happens has some law of attraction vibrational hook. It was not accidental that occurred right after Esther had fanned the flames of people doing weird things in traffic that made her a vulnerable target. It's not an odd thing. It was not a strange coincidence that as Esther came into the parking lot, she picked that place to park. None of this is accidental. Nothing is accidental. Everything is vibrationally aligned. And the composite of vibrations that you hold are all part of it. So was this an awful thing that happened? Certainly not. Are there awful things that happen? No, not really. This is the thing that we want you to understand. From your broader point of view, everything fits into vibrational alignment with the well-being that you want to preserve. And as you begin looking for evidence of that, you begin living more of those moments so that it's peak, 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 peak. It was a peak moment for Esther when she called that father and explained to him her newfound perspective and expressed through the tone in her voice and through the conversation that she had her genuine love and appreciation, her genuine affection and desire for well-being for the young girl who just 2 days before had caused her something entirely different than that, or at least that was the credit that Esther was giving to her. When you come feel good, it's because you've aligned with who you are. When you feel bad, it is because you are not aligning with who you are. And whoever is running into the front of your car is irrelevant to the equation, really, 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 really. So, there's mayhem in the parking lot right now. No one is afraid. We are eager to talk with you about anything you want to talk about.
Hi, you're right. Sort of like I'm stuck in a vibration but I can't change it. I try really hard to change it as well. Like I try to find a bit of thoughts, but what happens is I just go straight back to where I started off with.
Well, you have to do it a little bit at a time. So what happens is, because you feel a certain way, that's the vibration that you're offering. Because that's the vibration that you're offering, that's what comes back to you. As that comes back to you, it confirms the feeling that you had, which causes you to offer the vibration more. So, in the example that we gave about Esther with the car hitting her car, same sort of thing. She's been feeling off her game. She's been feeling less strong and less secure than she has felt over time. She's been feeling sort of vulnerable. That feeling of vulnerability causes her to say things that are not things that she would normally say, caused her to rendezvous with a near accident, which she normally wouldn't rendezvous with, but given this new vibration, so here it comes. Then she commented about what a close call it was, and even though nothing happened at that intersection, under the bridge, entering the freeway, nothing happened. She found the words that said, if that guy who did that thing that he shouldn't have been doing had hit that other car, then likely we would have been involved in something even though we were innocent. So now here she is. She was feeling it. Now there's evidence. Now she's commenting on the evidence. Now she's feeling it more. Now she parks her car innocently in a parking lot, and while she's in the grocery store, someone hits her car. So now, see what's going on. So she was feeling that way. The manifestation confirmed how she was feeling. Now she comes out, and here is something she really doesn't want. There's a girl crying. Her father is there. He's enraged. The car is smashed into her car. Now you're observing something more. Now you're observing it. Now you're having a knee-jerk response to it. In other words, it's like letting what is control how you feel. But the question is, when did it start? In other words, when did this chain that led to that start? And the bigger question that we're really wanting you to hear is, what was the chain really leading to? In other words, what did it actually lead to? Eventually, Esther felt enough discord from it. When Esther got really, really mad at that sweet little girl, that's when Esther started rethinking it, because that's not who she is and it's not what she wants. She did not want to stand in that place of blame there. So then another intention kicked in, because whenever you know what you don't want, what you do want is part of the equation too. So in this story that we're giving you, at some point along the way, Esther made a decision that she was no longer happy feeling bad. And as she visited with us about it, we helped her to see this is not evidence of your vulnerability, this is evidence of your invincibility.